Hi, I'm Ade, otherwise known as Black Carnivore, and welcome back to my channel. If you are a regular, welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. And if you are new, we talk about all things carnivore for the culture. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my vegetarian vegan experience. I feel like everybody has had their story, their experience doing, trying to follow what they think is a healthy diet. And so when I was in college, that's, I think, when I first decided to give vegetarianism a try. And, there were lots of very... There were lots of very impassioned students who, cared about the environment, cared about animals, and, and wanted to make this a better world, and thought that vegetarianism or, not eating animals was the best way to accomplish that. And, and I was... And still am an activist. I care about the world. I care about my community. I care about, what happens in the world. So that was an approach that I thought was a good one to, to organize around and to be involved and committed in. But I found it very, very hard to not eat meat. And, as much as I love sugar and candy, I also never felt satisfied without meat. And, but I tried, to make a lot of, I started cooking more, I made more rice, more beans. I felt like it was a way of sort of connecting with my ancestors, eating all natural foods, healthy foods, things that were, grown organically or locally. I started shopping at my local co-op. And, as much as I wanted the idea to work, as much as I thought about like factory farming, what that meant, and wanting to opt out of, that, supporting that kind of industry, like it just didn't work for me physically. I had a lot of digestive problems, a lot of gas, a lot of bloating, a lot of, inconsistent and inconsistent. Everything was just uncomfortable. And I never felt satisfied. I mean, I was always, if not hungry, like I don't even know what the word hunger meant. I would be full and bloated and my stomach distended because I'd eaten such fibrous material, but I would still be wanting something, and I hated that feeling. I really do hate that feeling. So that was like a constant through college. And then, of course, with, lack of money and blah, 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 you could go to Subway and get a veggie sub, like a foot-long veggie sub for $2.99. And, that might be lunch and dinner and maybe lunch the next day. So, I would do stuff like that. So I was eating cheese. I would eat eggs sometimes, and I didn't really like eggs all that much. And, and these were things that I thought were a good idea to save money, but really just were not at all. And then, through college and then into grad school. In grad school, I tried, I started trying veganism, and it was like I could go a few days, and then I just had to have, even if it was cheese or, or egg or something like that. And I remember I got the Maximum Weight Loss book from John McDougall. And basically, you're trying to eat 10% of your daily calories in fat, and everything else from like starchy vegetables. So like potato and I don't know. He called for a lot of potato. I remember that, and then the kind of low calorie green veggies, and it was, it was interesting because in some ways I felt cleaner. I think what I hear people talking about is kind of interesting, that both fat and carbohydrates are energy sources, but you can't do both. You know, you got to do one or the other. And so when you really take all the fat out and you're really running on carbs, it did feel a little bit cleaner. I didn't gain weight, and I feel like, because I wasn't, you know, his diet doesn't call for sugar. So, you know, you can have a small amount of it, but he kind of discourages it. So I felt like I wasn't eating things that were, you know, really high in the glycemic index. And so, you know, I didn't have the highs and lows and the crashes that you get with eating a lot of processed foods. But I also, again, had that, you know, both very full and still totally unsatisfied feeling. And that was unsustainable. So for like a year off and on, I kept trying it and trying it and trying it. And it just, you know, just wasn't working. And I wasn't losing weight. If anything, I was gaining weight. And then, you know, after that, the Atkins book came out, I think, in 1998, and so for the next couple of years, people were talking about Atkins, and I tried it, and you know, I think it did well for me. I always had it in the back of my mind as something to do, because that was one diet where I kind of felt satisfied and, you know, not hungry and lost weight easily. But what I didn't know then was the salt. And for me specifically, I really have to be intentional about getting enough salt and sodium. And so I had, you know, pretty bad keto flu. And, you know, I mean, it's like, oh man, if only, you know, that information was shared, like I could have saved myself years of hassle. All I had to do was put more salt in my food. But, you know, lesson learned. So for all of you, when I tell you add salt, add salt, add salt, I know people never believe me. And then, you know, they're like, oh man, I had these horrible headaches and I was feeling so blah. And it's like, you know, just gotta add salt. You just gotta do it. You gotta do it. But anyway, so I was trying to, you know, so I kind of did Atkins for a while, and then I kind of got off of that because, well, you know, I like desserts, and I wasn't envisioning a life without that, you know, and I think if you're a person who is addicted to sugar, you gotta, like, it's not going to work to, you know, your addiction is only going to get worse. It doesn't stay the same or improve. So, you know, for me, you know, I kind of went off and on that. And then when I moved to Amsterdam, I lived in Amsterdam for 3 years, and I was, you know, moved there to do work on my dissertation. I was getting a PhD in anthropology at UCLA, and then I just quit school and got a job and lived there. And it was a great experience. And again, I was still trying to do the vegetarian thing, partly too because that was sort of the tail end of the mad cow scare. So, you know, we were, you know, we're still supposed to be afraid of, you know, eating meat or eating beef in Europe. But so I would, you know, try not to. And then, like, every 6 weeks to 2 months, I'd just be like, I cannot go another day without beef. And I would go to the Hard Rock Cafe because I felt, I don't know, there was no rhyme or reason to it. I guess I felt, you know, it was an American thing and maybe it was safer beef, but clearly not, you know. So, but I would go there and get like a big burger, and, you know, I didn't even care about the fries. What I wanted was the beef. And, but otherwise, while I was there, you know, I was trying to save money and not spend a lot of money on food. So I wasn't buying, you know, beef and lamb and, you know, other things that I could have, you know, in the grocery store, but I just wasn't. So, but I would buy, you know, beans and cheese, and, you know, it really wasn't a good thing for me. So, you know, again, now my weight stayed pretty stable. I didn't gain weight. And I think I lost some weight, mostly because, I mean, it's just you're living in a new place and going out and riding a bike and being more active. I just, ended up losing some weight. Probably hit my lowest adult weight while I was living there. But, I wasn't feeling super great. And one of the things that was, ubiquitous there, like here in New York, you can always count on seeing a hot dog stand. Like, you don't have to walk very far to find one. And so when I was there, it wasn't hot dog stands, it was falafel stands. So basically there were a lot of Israeli people there who created, who fry up falafel in their stands, and you could buy a falafel sandwich, on a pita with some lettuce and tomato and blah, blah, blah for €1, so like $1. And I was like, oh man, this is the best. This is cheap. It's, healthy. I mean, I figured it's chickpeas, it's lettuce, it's, whole wheat pita, like healthy, it's cheap. And, I wasn't thinking about the fact that it was deep fried in vegetable oil, of course. It was full of carbs, not that much protein. And, of course, I put, tahini and other, basically vegetable oils on top as a sauce. And, I'm sure it was contributing to my inflammation and other problems. But, I thought it was a good choice. And so I ate a lot of that. And I didn't, I wasn't feeling great. I definitely felt like that. And I had, one episode where I think I got bronchitis, and I mean, it literally took like 6 months for me to recover from that bronchitis. I mean, it's just so much coughing and all of that. And in fact, what happened was I came back, I moved back to New York, and while I was here, I finally went to a doctor about it, and who told me, I was basically having an allergic, response. Like I'd had bronchitis, but I was still inflamed, even though I was healed, because of just all the coughing and my general inflamed nature. And so back then you could still buy Primatene Mist over the counter. And so, the doctor told me to get that. And it was like, oh, finally, relief. Like I could breathe. I didn't, cough when I tried to breathe. And that was the first inkling I had that, I have some serious respiratory issues, perhaps asthma. But nobody said that word to me back then. But every time I got sick, that was always an issue. Like I'd have this cough and difficulty breathing for months after months. So anyway, that just dragged on. But I finally, when I finally came back to the States, in the early 2000s, I finally was like, I don't know, this whole vegetarian vegan thing, it might be the right thing. It might be, what I aspire to politically, but this is not working for me. Like, it's just not working. I can't do it. So I finally gave it up. I still was eating mostly chicken and turkey and fish because, of course, that's what we're told is the healthy, low-fat option to eat. But I stopped trying to not eat meat, and I stopped, and in fact, I probably, that's when I began having, meat at least 2 times a day, if not 3. And, I just gave up on carbs and carby stuff altogether. I think I've told this before that I, went to see a naturopathic doctor in the early 2000s here in New York. And, he said, oh, you're, allergic to all kinds of things, and you need to be eating, and I thought he was going to say a vegetarian or vegan diet, and I was like, oh man, we're going to have to do this all over again. And he said, you need to be eating the cave woman diet. Only eat things that our, Paleolithic ancestors would have eaten. So this was even before people were talking about paleo, so this was a long time ago. And he was like, if it's meat or a vegetable, fine, nothing else. Nothing that comes in a bag or a box. And I was like, okay, all right, I guess I can do that. And, that helped me so, so much, though, to really start to pull out these things that were inflaming me. Just gave me so much more peace and health. So anyway, that is, man, this is a long, long story. I'm going to stop here, and perhaps I will talk more about veganism and vegetarianism. I do feel like I need to talk about it because, it's people care about this, and people talk about it a lot, and and the vegan movement is expanding and growing, and I'm disappointed to see people who they want to use it as a tool to get healthier, and I'm actually seeing them get sicker and older and aging in a way that they wouldn't if they were eating a meat-based, animal foods-based diet. So I'm going to wrap this up, and have a great day.